I would like to officially thank everybody for joining us today and wish you a very good morning. My name is Felicia Campbell. I'm joined today by Jenny Doherty. She's the VP of Community Engagement at Procurated. We were going to have Cindy Urick, Director of Purchasing for Reading Area Community College, with us today as well. However, she had another commitment, so isn't able to join us. But Jenny had a conversation with her and captured all of her thoughts on using the platform, so we're still going to be able to share that with you. Also today, my fellow COSTARS marketing manager, Stephanie Sun, is with us. She's going to be moderating the chat area for us. So if you have any questions during the session, feel free to use the chat area and pose your question. If that question pertains to what we're talking about in that very moment, we'll interrupt the presenter and ask the question. If not, we'll hold the other questions till the end. So let's start off. I want to give you a quick little role-playing sort of situation here. I want you to envision yourself shopping for a new couch for your home. If you're like me, you probably don't want to put shoes on, so I would start my search with online browsing to kind of get a feel for what the current couch market has to offer. Because probably like me, you haven't purchased a new couch for more than 10 years. Your research on the style that speaks to you now is pretty extensive. So you found a couch that catches your eye, but you know nothing about the manufacturer of the product. Who can give you insight into the quality and value of the product? Well, I look at it as previous purchasers. So I want everybody to raise your hand. There's a raise your hand feature at the top of your screen. Let me know if you use rating stars in your browsing strategy. Let's see how many of you do this. I know I use it all the time. Yep, hands are going up. Yeah, we all do. Let's say we're looking at Amazon. That is the first thing I look at, right? So I'm going to talk to Stephanie here quickly. When you're looking for products online, do you use online ratings to help in your buying decisions?
Absolutely.
You do? And what do you think when you see an online rating of 5 stars?
I feel hopeful, but that doesn't really tell me much of the story.
And then what do you think about when you see a 3-star rating? How does that affect your decision making?
Those make me want to know more about what exactly are the reasons why this couch didn't score higher. Like I don't want to miss out a great couch just because the customers thought the included throw pillow were too scratchy. The throw pillows at least wouldn't factor into my buying decision. So I would like to dig into the reviews.
Yep, you're exactly like me. You'd want to know more. Those stars tell you a lot, but they don't tell you everything. So we hear the term a lot of I'm going to use finger quotes here, but you can't see me, online influencers. There's a lot of money to be made by some of those who make a job out of influencing. But to me, the most important influencers in my day-to-day decisions are truly those who leave ratings and reviews that help in my decision-making process. So Procurated uses this methodology of previous purchasers educating potential purchasers on their own experience with a product, a manufacturer, or even a supplier within the public procurement space. So we have with us the guru of Procurated. I want to thank you, Jenny, for being with us today to share with us how Procurated's ratings and reviews are a valuable procurement tool for our informed decision-making in public procurement.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So thank you for that background, Felicia and Stephanie. I think it really does set the stage because we know in our personal lives that ratings and reviews matter a lot to help us to make our own personal purchasing decisions. And in fact, that is how Procurated was founded. Our CEO, David Yarkin, who coincidentally was a former chief procurement officer of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, as was I. After him, he was on a business trip to Philadelphia and had some time to get lunch. So he pulled out his phone, opened up Yelp, and was researching where to have a Philadelphia cheesesteak because, like many of us, he had this information at his disposal and he didn't want to take a risk on having a bad sandwich for lunch. So he researches on Yelp, uses ratings and reviews to make a decision, and lo and behold, has a great sandwich for lunch. And the idea for Procurated was spawned at that moment, and because he thought, if I can do this for a $13 sandwich, why can't I do this for a $13 million public procurement? Why can't I research suppliers and see about my peers' experience? And so that's when Procurated was founded 4 years ago in 2019. So wanted to give you that backstory because you all know in your jobs, every decision matters. It matters in your personal life, and it really, really matters at work because you are all stewards of the taxpayer dollar. So you have that extra weight, extra responsibility on your shoulders to make good purchasing decisions. And Procurated is here to help you to support that part of your procurement process. So before I fully jump in, I wanted to have a little bit of fun here. So let me share my screen. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. So everybody get your phones out. This is like the one time where it's okay to play on your phones while you're in a presentation. So let me share my screen. Everybody get their phones out because I have a couple polling questions for you. So what you're going to do is hover your camera over the QR code in the top left of my screen, or you can go to slido.com and type in this number 4108026, which is in the bottom left of the screen. And you're going to use your phone to answer the question, how many years of experience do you have working in procurement? And this is going to let us all see the great experience that you all have that are in this webinar this morning. Great, we've already got some answers. 7 years, 2.5 years, 8 years, nice. Give everybody a minute here. I have another question after this, so keep your phones out. All right, I might freak you all out and type in my experience here. One year, 3 months. Great, we've got some new folks here. That's really exciting. Very cool. 10 years. Awesome. Well, thank you all for participating. Again, keep your phones out because I have one more question for you. What types of categories do you manage for your organization? So services, supplies, specific ones like office, consulting, a little group participation here. IT maintenance, great. Supplies, office and school supplies, great. Thank you all for participating. Those who are, it makes it a little more fun and interesting for everybody. Office and school supplies, okay, so we have double of that. All services and supplies under the bid limit, awesome. That's busy. Services, supplies, bids, yep. See, somebody's still typing, so we'll give it another minute here. Transportation services, awesome. Great. Well, thank you for sharing, everybody. It helps to put some perspective on who's participating today. Okay, so moving off the poll. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. So as Felicia mentioned, Cindy Yerk from Reading Area Community College was not able, had a last minute thing that she had to do this morning. So I asked her what she was planning to share with you all to talk about her experience using Procurated and the tool. So this is her exact quote. And she said, "What I find helpful about Procurated is the ability to search vendors by name to see ratings, their diverse classifications, and cooperative pricing participation. I appreciate that I can find vendors by commodity." So I'm going to show you all how she does this in Procurated. Before I keep going on mute. Okay, so before I jump into the site, wanted to give you all a little bit of background. So I told you we were founded 4 years ago. What I didn't tell you already is kind of the most exciting part, which is Procurated is free for you to use. There is absolutely no cost. As COSTARS members, you all have access to the site for free. The COSTARS team and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was actually our first state customer to use the site. So there are literally thousands of reviews in the site written by your peers in particular, as well as your peers from across the country. So once you get in and start looking around, you'll start to see that, and I'll show you a bit of that in a minute. So we are free for you all to use. Secondly, we have, as of yesterday, we had about 55,000 ratings and reviews across 12,000 suppliers in our site, written by more than 60,000 and 60,000 verified buyers across the site. So everybody who's in Procurated is a public sector employee. So they work for a state, local government, K through 12, higher ed organization, federal government. You must be a verified public sector employee to use our site. And we go through a verification process using your work email address to vet you. So that's the Procurated community. So the other thing is that suppliers do not have access to reading reviews that you've written about them unless you specifically give them access to that. So every review that's written, you can choose whether you want to be anonymous or leave your name, and you choose whether or not to show the supplier your review. So those two pieces of information are completely up to you at the time of the review writing. Okay, very quickly, because I'm going to really show you this on the site, but people like you, public sector entities like you, use Procurated really to do a few different things: to find suppliers, evaluate suppliers, share their feedback, monitor performance overall, and also to use a supplier performance or contract manager dashboard, which I will show you in just a second. So I'm going to pause here and switch over to the site. While I do that, feel free to ask any questions about what I've already shared. I'm going to jump into the site now. So this is the Procurated site. This is the home page. This is what it looks like once you have authenticated and logged in with your work email address and your password. So like Cindy said, she likes to use the site to find vendors by name, to research them. So I'm going to show you that use case right now. So let's say you had recently done a solicitation or an RFP for telecom, and Comcast, Verizon, AT&T passed the technical threshold, and you want to do a little more due diligence on the three of them to see how they're performing for your peers across the country. So in this case, I'm going to search Comcast. So you just type their name in the search bar, hit enter. Excuse me 1 second. I don't know why that just happened. So it's making me log in. Okay. Oops, sorry about that. Let me stop my share here. I'm not sure what happened here. Okay, let me just get my credentials in. No matter how many times you test this ahead of time, okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Okay, back to Comcast. Okay, so I typed in Comcast, and here come up the search results. So I'm going to click on Comcast, and this is their page on Procurated. So they have filled out this information, their address, this about us, their DUNS number, their contract vehicles, their service area, which is national, their commodities, which are based on UNSPSC code. And then here are all the ratings and reviews. So they are currently at a 4 out of 5 stars across 172 ratings and reviews written by your peers. So if I scroll down, I can start to see the actual reviews that have been written. So I'm just going to scroll a little bit here. You can see folks are leaving reviews as anonymous reviewers. And then here's one by Deborah Schaefer from Independence Township, Pennsylvania, who has left her name and her organization name. So it's interesting. You can start to, and note, please note the dates of these. So, you know, these are recent reviews. These are written in April of this year. Trying to find one that might be a little concerning. We use them for our internet. It's been a bit difficult to find someone who's able to help with any issues. So let's say,
Hey, Jenny.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I think this is a really good point because you just said something about concerning and you even mentioned the anonymous reviews. Sandra brought up a good point in the chat area, and I was going to mention it too in the Q&A, that, you know, how can vendors improve if they don't know about bad reviews? So just because you might have something critical to say about a supplier, I would think about, yes, the information that I'm providing is going to help fellow purchasers, but also think about, you might want to share a critical piece of information in there or critique to the suppliers so that they can course correct as well. A lot of management doesn't know what the perception of the experience is of all of their customers. So when they see it on here, they can work with their sales team to correct those problems. And to Sandra's point, if you're making it anonymous, they won't know. So think about that when you're leaving your reviews. You still have the option to go anonymous, but they're never going to fix the problem if they don't know about it.
Exactly. Thank you, Felicia. And I wanted to mention something too. So when you are logged in, so I just found one, it's anonymous, but they said we had a situation where our whole system was down and they did not communicate with us about it. Yikes. So let's say that you're reading this and you want to hear more about this situation, but the person was anonymous, so you don't know who they were. You can actually click on this direct message link and ask this anonymous reviewer if you can reach out to them and talk more about this. So they will get a message both in the Procurated site and also an email from you with your direct message. So you can dig into this a little bit more. And you can see the vast majority of our reviews, even if they're not positive, are indeed shared with the supplier for that reason that Felicia mentioned. Even if it's not shared with the supplier, I'm going to show you another place in a minute where on an aggregate level, they're going to get the feedback about how they're performing. They'll also get, when a supplier logs into Procurated, I'm going to scroll back up, they are able to see all the way down to here. So they're able to see that they have 172 ratings and they're a 4 out of 5 star. They don't see all these reviews unless you've shared them with them. So there's a limit to what they can see. And again, it's all at your fingertips what you allow them to see. So this was the use case for how to search vendors by name, which is something that Cindy from Reading Area Community College said is very helpful for her. The other thing I'm going to show you is back to this main search page. Let's say you wanted to look up janitorial suppliers. So you can just type in anything here on the search bar. So let me type in janitorial. I'm going to change my location here to Pennsylvania. Now, when you log in, you'll be defaulted to Pennsylvania. So what's coming up here is 411 results for janitorial. So let's say, getting back to Cindy's email, she likes to look at diversity classification. So you'll see here on the left-hand side, there's a business designation filter. So I'm going to filter by small business. So I want to use a small business for cleaning a building that needs some extra special love and attention. So let's say, actually, I want to use a small woman-owned business. So now I'm down from the 411 results to 15. So let's see, this LM Colger company has 30 reviews and they're at a 4.9 stars. Looks good. So I'm going to click on them and I can see here, now I'm at their page on Procurated. So this is a woman-owned small business in the greater Pittsburgh area, specifically around Indiana and Johnstown. And you can see the small business and women business enterprise credentials here, their contract vehicles. Oh, look, they're on COSTARS. Awesome. A 4.9 out of 5. And then I can scroll down and see all of the specific reviews. So some of them are really detailed, which is nice. So this is just yet another use case for how you can search for suppliers on the site. So the last example I wanted to show you, Cindy mentioned that she likes using it to find the cooperative contracts, find vendors by commodity and by cooperative contracts. So on the main page, I'm not sure if you noticed here, but there's sort of a pre-curated, if you will, list of categories. So you can click anywhere in here and it will pull up, for example, facilities, 2,800 suppliers. You can filter down by subcategory, by business designation, and you can also filter by star review. So I only want to see 4 stars and above, and you can search that way. The other way is if you click on this contracts tab, and this is my favorite part of the site, and I think it's because I have a public procurement background. What you're looking at here is a list of all of the COSTARS contracts. So the contract vehicle is PA COSTARS, and if you click on the contract dropdown, here are all of the COSTARS contracts. So if you're looking for, let's say, let's do a different one. Let's do packaged software. Here are all the suppliers on the COSTARS software contract. And there are a lot of them, as you know, lots of options for you. And what you're looking at here is really a dashboard that takes all of the information from all of the reviews that are written about those suppliers and boils them up into this dashboard. So this first column, contract rating, these are all the reviews and the ratings just by COSTARS members. The second column, the national rating, is all the reviews and rating across our entire site. So anybody who's written a review about the supplier. And then there are additional elements, customer service, pricing, quality, and timeliness that you're able to review on the review forum. So let's take, I'm going to scroll down. Here's CDW. So CDW is a 4.9 out of 5 stars written by COSTARS members compared to 4.7 and 715 reviews across our site. Now, if I click on any one of these suppliers, I can then see those 10 reviews written by your peers, where they were from, and how many reviews from that organization. If I scroll down, I can see all the individual reviews. So let's say I'm looking at CDW, I'm reading reviews, I'm like, okay, they look really good. I want to use CDW for a software order. So what I can do at that point is I can go to the COSTARS website, which is where I am right now. I can pull up contract number 6, software. Then I can click on CDW, search. And in just a second, it's going to pull up the contract information for me that I can then use. That I can then use to put on my purchase order to CDW. Oops. CDW. Search. And that will give me, voila, vendor contract number. I can click into this. I can click into the contract overview, vendor contract and contract terms. And now I have all the information I need to issue a purchase order to CDW. And I started here at Procurated to do a little bit of research.
Jenny?
It's also, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, can you go back to see where you see contracts at the top?
Yes.
One of the guests said that they're not seeing that contracts button. Would there be a reason for that?
Yes, there is a reason for that, which means that you may not have, you may not either be a verified user, which you may be, but I just need to give you that contract tab access. So if you shoot me an email after the session, I will give you access to that contracts tab. So let's,
Thank you.
Stephanie, if you can put in the chat my email address, which is jenny@procurated.com. If anybody needs that access or has any questions afterwards, they know how to get in touch with me. Awesome. So I mentioned that I was the Chief Procurement Officer for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I was also the head of purchasing at PASHE, the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education, right before joining Procurated. And I was a customer of Procurated at the time. And I loved this area in particular because one of the universities would say, you know, we want to contract with Integra One. You know, we need something really quickly. And so the first thing I would do is say, are they on a COSTARS contract? And I could very quickly see that visually by going into Procurated, pulling up package software, oh, there's Integra 1. Yep. So now I would go to the COSTARS website, pull up the contract information, and within literally minutes, I was able to serve my customer with what they needed. So it's just a great extra place to look and get information. And, Integra 1, 5 out of 5 stars, that's awesome. Only 5 reviews, but 55 overall and a 4.9. So doing really well, providing great service. So it's just a really great place to get information. So that's everything I wanted to show you on the site. Let me go back to the slide deck here. Finish up with a couple other pieces of information. We are working currently with 11 different states across the country, which many of you can see on the left-hand side here. We're also working with the General Services Administration of the federal government. We are partnered with Nashville Value Point, and we're working with many large cities, counties, schools, and higher ed organizations across the country, including Philadelphia School District in Pennsylvania, which is really exciting. So last but not least, I have one final question for you. Now that you've seen the site and you've heard about how others such as Reading Area Community College are using the site, how might you use Procurated in your organization? So again, take out your phones, hover over the QR code, or go to slido.com. I'd love to hear your feedback on how this might be helpful for you in your day-to-day job. And then we'll open it up for questions. I see someone is typing, so thank you for participating. Check for reviews on new vendors. Yep, awesome. It's a great use case. Vendor selection. One thing I hear a lot from public sector employees who are using the site is many organizations are encouraging their users as much as possible to buy from small, diverse vendors. But there's a little bit of an apprehension, I guess I would say, when it comes to working with a vendor that they've never worked with before. And so when they can log in and find a vendor, find a small, diverse vendor on Procurated, and then read reviews that have been written about them from their peers, that really kind of dissipates that apprehension and makes them more comfortable kind of working with someone they've never worked with before. So I love that. I love that example. Quickly find vendors with contracts to get quotes. Awesome. And again, if anybody is missing that contracts tab, I can add that for you in literally seconds. So just shoot me an email after the event and I will get that set up for you. If you're not already logged in, if you go to procurated.com and in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a button that says sign up. And again, it's totally free. And if you click sign up, I will check the queue later today and approve you. And then I can also get you added for the contract dashboard. See someone typing, so let me just give it another second and then we can turn it over to Q&A.
We also have a poll response that says I'll be using the diversity options that came through in the chat, just so you're aware of that.
Awesome.
Yes, we gave it 2 thumbs up.
Awesome. Okay, let me go on to the next slide, which was just Q&A. happy to take any questions you might have, as is Felicia. So whether it's about COSTARS or Procurated, we are here to answer any questions you have.
So while we wait, there was a question posed in the chat that I answered, but I want to make sure that what I said is correct according to you. Christine asked if only suppliers have reviews, purchasers, oops, hold on. Is it only the suppliers that have reviews? Some things have no review. And I said, yes, only the suppliers have reviews. The purchasers can choose to leave a rating only if they prefer or don't have time to leave a review in the moment. But I did point out that it seems to me that both COSTARS and Procurated are registered as both reviewers and suppliers. So that's probably a small exception to that rule within the platform. Are there any others that would be kind of like us where we can review and receive reviews?
Yes, so I mentioned we're working with NASPO Value Point.
Right.
So right now, what they're really using the site for as an organization, kind of like a cooperative organization like COSTARS, they are using that contract dashboard to see how the suppliers are performing across their contract portfolios. And then they do annual reviews with their suppliers, and they'll pull up that dashboard and say, hey, Granger, this is how you're performing for our users who are using NASPO, but perhaps it's a bit lower than the national score. How can we get your performance to be, better? And you can share that dashboard with your suppliers if you want to say, you're the top rated supplier across these 8 that the customers can choose from, or hey, you're the bottom performing supplier. What can you do to get your score higher? So, and I will also share that suppliers are very positive about this tool because they're hungry for feedback. They want to perform well for you, for the most part. These suppliers are used to working with government entities. They want to do well. They know how valuable your business is. But many times they don't get feedback unless something terrible happens. So this is a great tool to give them feedback in general about how they're performing, not just when something goes wrong.
Yep, I agree.
So somebody asked, does it provide history on purchase orders? No, it does not provide like transactional data within the site.
Now, Sandra, if you're asking about COSTARS purchases in particular, we can pull that data for you if you needed to know that for your own purchases or for the entire contract that you're asking about. That is something that COSTARS can do. You're getting a snapshot of what we receive from the suppliers themselves. That is a term and condition of their contract, is to give us quarterly sales reports. They don't all comply, and we are constantly on them to do that. So yes, we can pull multiple vendor reports for a particular parent contract. So if that's helpful, just reach out to us and let us know.
Great.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, I love the heart. Jenny, is there any way to download the data to like Excel from Procurated?
There is not, but like you just shared, that you can give data on purchase history. We can download the data and send it to you as a file.
Got it. Okay.
I'm just putting my email here and also our website.
Oops, I just raised my hand and I did not mean to do that.
Mhm.
How do I get rid of it? So I raised my hand because I was just thinking about how many people here today realize that they didn't know, enough about Procurated to really use it as a tool, but are walking away from today's session going, I think this is really going to be helpful for me. My hand is raised because I can't put it down. Yeah,
I see some
I
hands
see the
coming up.
hands
Great.
going up. Yep. And when I used to talk about Procurated, I talk about Procurated a lot when I'm out at events because I think it's such a great tool. But I always talk about it as searching contracts within the COSTARS system. And then when you get to your last two suppliers that you're trying to make a decision for, then going into Procurated and seeing what the feedback is. But I really like Jenny's session today showing us how to search from the beginning using that contract drop down and picking the contract and seeing all of your availability there and then going into the system, because I think that's actually faster than the way I was talking about.
Awesome. I love this feedback. Thank you all for sharing this. Yeah, and I'm always happy to, set up time to show your organization the tool. We've got a public sector team that I lead, and we're happy to get on a Zoom or Teams call anytime and show this to your whole organization so everybody knows how to use the tool. Again, it's totally free, and it's something that I think has been missing in the public procurement world is really being able to use your peer network to share insights on suppliers, because like we started off, whether you're buying a couch for yourself or you're buying office supplies for your organization with taxpayer dollars, every decision is important. Every decision matters. So using the information at your fingertips to help you make the best decision possible, um, it's finally here for us in public procurement.
Agreed.
Well, thank you all for your time and attention this morning. I hope you learned something. I hope you had a little bit of fun. And again, Felicia and I are here to help you in any way as you go forward to do the very important job of public procurement.
And I just put my email address and Stephanie's email address in the chat, and Jenny's is in there as well. So feel free to reach out to us. You'll also get an email from me with the link to the recording. It's probably not going to be until next week that I have to work with a different bureau to get that posted to YouTube, and then I can share the link. So you will get it. Just sit tight and be patient. And I see Kelly is typing a question here before we head out.
So do you list other procurement bidding platforms besides COSTARS? So yes, when you're on a supplier page, like when we were on the Comcast page or the LM Colker page, there's a section that says contract vehicle. And if you click on that, it'll show you all of the contracts that the supplier has provided that are available to you. So it could be COSTARS, it could be Pennsylvania statewide, it could be NASPO Value Point, it could be Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But yes, they can put that. That doesn't mean that's a fully exhaustive list, but that's the information that the supplier has provided.
Did we talk about, and if the answer is no, or if you don't know where we are on this, that's fine. But did we talk about at one point recently that we were also going to list statewide contracts that were available, or did we determine that that was too difficult because the suppliers continually change on those contracts more than on ours?
So we did add Pennsylvania statewide there. So yeah, I'm just gonna do a little search. But so, and many times when you search a supplier, it will show you COSTARS and PA statewide, two different.
But there's no drop down like on that contracts page for the statewide stuff.
Right, correct.
Okay.
It doesn't link back.
Okay.
So let me just show you real quick. So right now I'm on Granger's page. That was just the one I kind of quickly pulled up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go to, this is what it says contract vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And if you click on the plus sign, you can see here that it's PA COSTARS and PA statewide. They're also on Omnia Partners, NASPO Value Point, GSA.
Yep. So this is a good time to mention, sometimes when we're out in the field talking to our members, some of them aren't aware that you can not only use COSTARS exclusive contracts, but through the program, you have availability to use a lot of our statewide contracts as well, the ones that are written for agency use. Many of those suppliers on those contracts are participating in the program as well. So just make sure when you find a PA statewide contract number on Procurated that you go over to eMarketplace, search that contract, and verify that that supplier is participating in COSTARS under that contract before you decide to make your purchase. Because my assumption here, Jenny, is if they say PA statewide, that may or may not mean that they're COSTARS participating, correct?
Correct.
Because agencies use this as well, right? Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, just verify that it says yes under the COSTARS column in eMarketplace.
Yeah, and as long as it's COSTARS, you're good. Yeah. Does everybody know how to do that?
With you in there, we'll talk about it. That's a great idea.
So let's see, if I go to, so this is eMarketplace. This is the statewide contracts, but you can also get to COSTARS here too. COSTARS contracts, click on that. So if I go to, let's see, search by supplier, I type in Granger. You want to click on this. I always click on both. So here are all the contracts. So you want to find the one that is most up to date. This has probably been renewed. Let's click on this one.
It looks like on the bottom. Why do you use both in your search?
Because I just want, well, I guess I've been accustomed to doing that to just, when I'm looking up RFPs or solicitations, sometimes I want to see past ones.
Yeah.
So now I would then click on the contract overview. And this is where I can see the parent contract number. Let's see.
So you'll see this one's written in lots. They're not all that way. So you'll want to make sure that you're looking for the correct supplier for the lot of stuff that you're looking for. And then if you go back to the original search page where it gave you all of their contracts.
Yep. Oh. Oops. Here.
Yes. So you see the pour
COSTARS
over from, yes, that column right there. If it says a yes in that column, then you can use that supplier and their contract for purchasing. If it says no, they're not participating in the program, so only the agencies can use those.
Yeah.
But going back to my comment that many of our members that we talked to in the field didn't realize that they could use that, I have two really great points about statewide contracts and COSTARS contracts and kind of pairing the both in your search. There are many contracts that are parallel, which means, that's pretty similar product category offerings between statewide and COSTARS. So I would get quotes across both types of contracts and then use the pricing in your negotiation to, keep whittling that down to get your either best value or your best pricing. But the other point of statewide contracts is, let's say you're purchasing a vehicle from a COSTARS exclusive contract. On the statewide side is where you're going to find things like tires and fluids for your vehicle for the maintenance of that vehicle. So there are some really good complementing products over there as well that you don't want to miss out on just because you didn't know about them. So now you know.
Awesome.
All right, well, it doesn't look like we have any more questions in the chat. I think we'll hang out maybe for a minute or two and wait to see if another question comes up. But if not, again, thank you so much for participating with us today. It was great talking with you, and I hope you learned a lot. And Jenny, thank you for presenting with us today.
Of course. Thanks, everybody.